Today we're going to be doing the BioCleat tutorial, going over everything that you get inside the box, how to use the BioCleats, the best way to go about training, how to use the toe spacers, how to use the Metpads. This is your custom fit shoe box that the cleats and the accessories will come in. So we're going to open this up. Inside we have a tote bag. This is great for taking your cleats, the toe spacers and Metpads to the game. You can fit everything in there. Then we have the toe spacer box with both sides, left and right, inside there. We have the Metpad box with the 5 different levels of Metpads for the left and right. We have the BioCleats. This is the all-white pair with the FG conical bottoms. The bottoms will be determined by the sport and the position you play. So first off, the box, we recommend that you keep the box because when the shoes break down, if you want to send us back the cleats, you'll get an additional 10% off added on to that 20% discount you get as a return customer. So on the box, you should actually see that there is a return address there. You can also find the return address online. Another cool thing about the box, if you open it up, the lid has the variables and dimensions that we use to make your specific cleats, like a unique box just for you. Our goal is for you to reuse this box, put the cleats in here, and send them back to us when they've died. Also, you have the silhouette of the cleats on the box, on the front and back. This whole system is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to with your cleats. Our first piece of advice is just to be patient, take your time learning all the accessories and trying out different setups. Don't just jump straight into a game, take some time to learn what works for your feet and what feels right. The Metpads come in 5 different sizes. The size you can see by the bottom, there's a little ID on it with your initials. Size is the first number, and then it's R is right or left, and then this is for my buddy Robert Wilmer, so that's his last name, RW. So you get the 5 different sizes. And we recommend starting with a level 1 or level 2. The Metpads are to re-engage your arch. The transverse arch is a muscle in your foot that has been turned off from using traditional footwear for too long. Because of the toe spring in shoes and because of the stiffness of shoes, a lot of the time people have a transverse arch that's either atrophied or just really weak. The Metpad is not arch support, it's actually arch activation. So I'm taking out the insole for this BioCleat so that I can pop in a Metpad. There's no Metpad currently in. The Metpad pocket is just kind of on the inside of the insole right here. I'm gonna look at my Metpads. For him, I'm gonna pick level 2. You can see it's 2R there. And the easiest way to get this in is you can just slide in the front edge into the pocket, and then you bend the bottom edge and you slide it into the bottom pocket. So there's 2 little pockets for the front and back to fit into, and voila, there you go. Now you have the level 2 Metpad in there, so just slide that in. And also, just a little tip for getting the insole out of the shoe. Usually it's pretty easy to get it in, but if it's hard to get the insole out, the best method is to get your fingernail or finger in the little arch section of the insole and use that for gripping it and pulling it out. Let's say you start with a level 1 or level 2 and you're training, and the next day your feet are super tired. That would be a sign that you're at the right level, or even you could go down a level. You really are using the Metpads to just re-engage and strengthen the arch, and this can take a lot of time. It could take a few weeks of playing, or even a couple months of playing at a certain level with the Metpad before you'll feel like, okay, now my arch is strengthened enough where it's not super tired after my practice or my game. We recommend that you just take it gradually, step by step. Once you feel you're not getting that engagement as much, your arch is feeling really good, then maybe you could step it up a level, and that's gonna make your arch stronger. The idea would be to get to a level 5 eventually, but truly that could take even a year, maybe 2 years. So just be patient with the process. This is a nice device to get your arch working again, because your arch is going to provide a lot of the athleticism, a lot of the force absorption you probably aren't used to using in your feet. It's a crucial part of getting the most out of these cleats. Our toe spacers, we have 3 different setups. We have the full strap setup. We have 2 different sizes of these. There's the L1, which you can see in the little circle in between the big toe and the second toe, and then L2 right there, same thing. That's where you know which size it is. And then we have the single big toe size 3. Before you even wear the spacers in the shoes, we recommend just trying them out at home, just putting them on and walking around and seeing how they feel. The level 1 full set is probably where you want to start, or you could even start with just the single big toe strap. The key there is just comfort, right? You want to find something where your toe splay isn't so aggressive that your feet are in pain. The goal is to spread out your toes more. For me personally, I actually have a webbed toe on my pinky. What's great about this setup is that you can adjust where I've just basically taken out the pinky toe to match my toe structure. So if you want to take one of these out, it's as simple as pulling it off the strap and swapping it out. Now there's an extra pinky size 3, and with all these spacers they open up like a sandwich, and you can see on the inside what slot it's supposed to be. So this one says pinky size 3L and which size it is. Let's say I wasn't getting enough pinky splay in this, I could slide in the size 3. To set this up, you just take the little end of the strap and slide it into the loop. You can grab the end of the loop and pull that through, and do that on the bottom side as well. To know which side is up or down, you have to read the inside label. So the inside will tell you, if you're reading that correctly, which direction it should be facing. So now I've just swapped the pinky size 3 into the full set left size 1, and that can be done with any of these, right? So you could swap out the size 3 big toe for one of the size 1 or size 2, and also with the middle toes and pinky toes. As far as the toe spacers go, the easiest one to wear inside the shoes will be the big toe, because it's the simplest and isn't going to interact with your smaller toes at all. And with all of these toe spacers, the best setup is to wear them with a sock over the toe spacers. That will really help keep everything together from moving. But you could even wear toe socks and then wear something like the big toe or the size 1 spacers. Partly it's going to depend on the width that we selected for you with your cleats. So if you haven't done a lot of minimalist training, you probably got a slightly narrower cleat. So you're probably going to start with the lower level of the toe spacers. But as you progress with us with your maybe second or third pair of BioCleats, we could expand the toe box width. So this is really dependent on your scan plus your foot strength level. Also, we found putting the toe spacers on, the easiest way to do this is doing them all simultaneously, a little bit at a time, pushing each one individually as it slides in until you have them set up. I'm going to show you on my right foot as well. Here's my right foot set up. Same thing, when you take them out, it's better to try and take them out as a unit rather than one at a time. When I'm putting it back in, individually pushing them a little bit at a time. That way, none of them are going to come off the strap, and you get the spacing you want. Even now, this strap is a little bit loose, so you can always tighten it while it's on your feet and just pull the end of the strap. And also check the bottom and see how the strap is set up. You can pull it tighter so that it's distributed throughout each toe. This would be the setup. I could put a sock over this, and that's typically what I use in my cleats. But I could also take this out one at a time, little bit by little bit, the right big toe, and just slide that on. So that goes directly over the big toe, and it also has a tightening strap so I can tighten it up. So that's probably the simplest setup right there to start out, but you can even wear the BioCleats without toe spacers or your own toe spacers, really whatever feels right. Alright, so that's the tutorial for the BioCleats, the toe spacers, the Metpads. You can always email us if you have specific questions. Yeah, this is a process to learn everything, but we think it's worth it for your longevity and your health as an athlete. These things are really meant to get your feet aligned and re-engaged so that when you play your sport, you're not putting so much pressure on your knees, on your ankles, on your back. It's really about integrating your athletic movements into your feet. Your feet are such a foundational part of your movement, and they can add so much value and protection to you. This is a process. For me personally, I've been wearing BioCleats now for 3 years, and only recently do I really feel like I've gotten close to mastering the movements in soccer with my feet. You have to relearn all these movements where you're using your foot, the little muscles in your feet and your arch as you're pushing off or cutting or stopping or shooting, whatever movement you're doing, your feet can be involved in that and they can add to your athleticism in that movement. But it's something you have to learn, and it's something that takes time. So if you've worn traditional cleats for a long time, the cleat is so rigid that the rest of your body is making up for what your feet can't do. The cleat is just kind of this plate. Your feet aren't going to move on it at all. So with our cleats, they're a lot more flexible, and so your feet are going to need to engage and be part of the movement. It might feel at first like you're losing maybe some speed or agility because the shoe is like a little bit more flexible, and that's partly true, but it can be regained. It can be regained by retraining your feet, by allowing your feet to understand what they need to do in those movements. They can provide the stiffness. Like your feet, when the muscles are flexed, can be just as rigid as a cleat. So it's all about training your feet over time to become what the cleat is just a band-aid for, right? And by wearing something stiff like that, what you lose is you lose the sense of the ground and you lose proprioception. When your feet are actually active and part of the movement and you know where the ground is, you're reducing the chances of injury. So many non-contact injuries happen when the foot is planted and you're sort of unaware that your foot is in the ground and like held there, and you do some sort of twisting motion and your foot's stuck. That's how an ACL injury or an ankle sprain happens. So the whole idea is that your feet are actually fully capable of adding to your athleticism and providing ability. They just have to be trained. So take your time. It's a process, it's a journey, but in the long run, it means a healthier body, healthier knees, healthier joints. So thank you so much for buying the BioCleats, for being part of this journey. We're going to continue making updates and improvements to the cleats as you send them back to us. We learn a lot from each individual pair, especially for those of you who are doing a sport outside of soccer. We have less data on those, so the more you can give us feedback about how they performed, about specific things to your sport that you would want adjusted on your cleat plate or on the upper, that's something we're continually building out. And it's really easy for us to add specific features for each type of sport, for each type of position. So yeah, we're really excited to be expanding out to a bigger customer base to learn what people like. Thank you for your business. Thank you for supporting us, and I'll see you in the next one.